Good evening, everyone. Before we begin the meeting, I'll ask that everyone please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices, and remind council that our procedure bylaw forbids the use of mobile devices during council meetings. I'll call this meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. by formally recognizing that we are meeting on Aboriginal land that has been inhabited by Indigenous people from the beginning. We respectfully acknowledge our responsibility to work toward right relations with our Indigenous partners and thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this place for thousands of years. In particular, we acknowledge the proud heritage of our neighbors from the Alderville First Nation and the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. I have a motion moved by Councillor Fredis, seconded by Councillor Butwell, that Council amend the February 12th, 2024 planning meeting agenda to defer item 10.1 to a future council meeting, and further that this item be brought up in closed session 12 February 2024. Is there any discussion? Councillor Anderson. No discussion? We're not voting yet, Ron. You're good? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. Members of council, do you have any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof. There are none noted. We have no delegations this evening. We have nothing in a statutory public meeting this evening, which brings us to planning and development reports. Our first report is with regard to a public engagement strategy for proposed developments of Mistral Land Development Incorporated, Fotenn Planning and Design Location, 129 Elizabeth Street. Mr. Warren, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight, sir?
Not at this time, other than the open house is tomorrow night.
And where is it and when is it, sir?
It's at 5:30 at the, I guess it's called the King George Community Center.
King Edward Park Community Center.
There we go. Call
So,
it any.
5:30 till when?
I don't generally put a closing time.
Very well. Okay. Thank you. And before I read that motion, we should probably pass the agenda as amended. I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council approve the February 12th, 2024 planning meeting agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. With regard to the report, I have a motion moved by Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receives a staff report dated February 12th, 2024 regarding a public engagement strategy for a proposed development located at 129 Elizabeth Street. The council directs staff to host a public open house on the proposed development, and that council directs staff to report back to council with the findings of the open house and to confirm the requirements for a complete application regarding the proposed development. Is there any discussion? Councillor Fredis.
Thank you through the chair to Director Walsh. In reading the report here, it says to confirm the requirements for complete application when you come back with a report to council. Will that provide the opportunity for council to share with you its thoughts and ideas on things that should be incorporated in the application process?
Mr. Warren or Director Walsh?
Through the chair, yes, that would be an opportunity to do that. Absolutely.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question about whether or not any of the proposed plans incorporate affordable housing into it. I see there's mixed densities, but is it actually any affordable housing that they're looking at putting in there?
Through the chair, I'm not sure we've had any discussions at that level yet.
Okay.
So that would be something good to propose at the public open house.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any further discussion for members of council? Councillor Fredis.
Thank you through the chair to Mr. Warren and Director Walsh. There was a OMB ruling in February 2010 that basically obligated the municipality to change this area from low density residential to highway commercial, which it's still classed as. And as a result, commercial component was a requirement. The kind of basic plans that we see currently, are they in conformity to that OMB ruling?
So that's a good question when we get a completed application. But right now, we're just providing staff with the okay to have a public open house so that we can get input from the citizens of Brighton so that then we can ask these kinds of questions during a planning meeting.
Right.
Any further questions on the motion from members of council? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. Next report is a status report, Community Improvement Plan, Policies and Programs. Director Walsh, we've read your report. Do you have anything to add or highlight?
To your worship, the council, nothing more to add.
Thank you, Director. The motion before me is moved by Councillor Wheeldon, seconded by Councillor Wright. The council received the staff report dated February 12th, 2024 regarding the status of Community Improvement Plan policies and its programs and projects. Is there any discussion? Councillor Wheeldon.
Apologize. I can remember that I had questions and I just can't remember what they are. With regard to the community improvement plans, is there a plan to condense this into, say, a brochure or something else that's in plain text so that people can understand it? I did read through the documents and I had read through them before, but goodness, it's a lot.
Director?
Through your worship, the council, well, then that's a good idea. To outline maybe table 1 type summary in a form of a guideline or brochure, and to maybe make it available at the front counter and attached to our application forms as they come in. We have amended application forms to remind persons on the applying for a building permit, there may be some grants available for affordable housing because we have that budgeted. For the other programs that haven't been budgeted, we haven't been advertising those so much because, you know, council's direction and interest has been expressed, so we haven't gone in those other directions.
Perhaps if we're going to go down that road of creating a pamphlet or a booklet or a brochure or what have you, whatever we want to call that thing, that we include also those kinds of incentives or opportunities offered through the county. That way we're not, you know, people aren't constantly digging for information that doesn't percolate to the surface if you're not aware of it. And I know there's a loan program, for example, for affordable housing through the county that I don't think anybody's ever applied for because no one knows about it.
Your worship, yeah, that's true. That's our situation. We make mention of it, and again, it's on our building permit application forms, but we haven't had any takers to date. Once they have their design done and they're in a rush, they don't want to be just, you know, looking at additional issues, even though it's grants.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're already down the road and they already have their money in hand. So the other thought I had was perhaps we could host some sort of forum for developers, landholders, builders, other investors in the community that would help them sort out what funnel to go to in order to get a building permit or get incentive programs available to them, et cetera, et cetera. So just a thought, and we don't have to do any more discussion around that tonight, but
I think it's a good idea.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you. Appreciate the highlighting of the accessibility top-up rebate after our previous discussions about and hopes for budgeting some accessibility funding. I'm glad that this is here, but I believe this falls into one of the categories that, as you mentioned, we have not budgeted for. So just a note, maybe we should.
Anything further from members of council? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion's carried. That brings us to items for information purposes. And this is an application tracking form, application tracking 2024. Director Walsh, do you have anything to add or highlight on this?
Nothing much, your mayor, your worship. The original intent was to have a bit of a tracking report for council for for site plan control applications, but we added the other applications because we're trying to have some sort of internal system for tracking on a regular basis. So it's just as convenient to pass that over. It's a little more detailed than what's necessary. So you might find the next version have fewer columns, but I think it will be a regular show on the agenda.
That's good information. I appreciate having it. And thank you. Any questions or comments from members? Oh, sorry, I should read the motion first. It's moved by Councillor Rowley, seconded by Councillor Wheeldon, that council receive for information purposes the application tracking 2024 for official plan amendments, consent applications, zoning bylaw amendments, subdivision applications, and minor variances and site plan control. Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you. The tracking the number of days per application, I assume is for the purposes of the provincial regulation. I know that the Elgin Street condominiums were a special case in a lot of respects, but is 395 days expected to be a round number for subdivision applications in general? It's the only one with any days listed on it.
Director?
No, a lot of that time was really in the hands of the applicant, getting their EIS information completed and other information completed at the time. So that's not shown in the number of days. But you're correct. It's largely in response to some of the prescribed timeframes in the Planning Act, particularly those related to site plan control as a result of Bill 23 proclaimed a year ago in November 28th. And yeah, so that's correct.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon.
Thank you. Given that most of that time was in the hands of the applicant, are we still held accountable for that total number of days?
Director?
To the mayor, yes, we can be. My understanding is decisions at the tribunal have been that municipality and the developer don't have to agree on whether the EIS is complete and accurate or not, for example, and that they would have the appeal rights to go to the tribunal and work out the details, technical details of some of these things there. So I think my druthers are to part of the complete application process, such as what we're doing at 129 Elizabeth Street, is to get peer review involved in some of the specialized studies early. So the terms of reference are clear. And then we have those communications with the applicant. I've had situations historically, not Brighton so much, but where there was a study done and there was some major omissions and it resulted in some major rework and time delays. And it was just unfortunate for everyone concerned. So I think we can avoid that by, one, having these open houses early, and secondly, getting peer review services engaged early. So I think that's something maybe staff haven't been great at doing, is getting the peer review folks involved as early as we could or should. Not a lot of places do, but I think in Brighton, I think we can make that improvement.
Any further comments or questions from members of council? All those in favor? Being none opposed, that motion is carried. We have nothing listed under unfinished business. The only bylaw tonight was deferred. Which brings us to question period. Is there anyone in the gallery who has a question with anything that appeared on tonight's agenda? None noted. That brings us to our closed session. For the folks watching on YouTube, once I've read the closed session, we will end the live YouTube stream and we will not return to YouTube for the duration of tonight's meeting. It's moved by Councillor Butwell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council resolve itself into closed session February 12th, 2024 at 6:46 p.m. Pursuant to the Ontario Municipal Act 2001, R.S.O 2001 as amended, subsection 239(2)(c), a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, land banking opportunity, and the addition of 21 Kingsley, And D, Labor Relations or Employee Negotiations CAO Agreement. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Being none opposed, the motion's carried. So we'll take a 10-minute recess while staff transitions into the closed session.